ladies. Thanks for joining. Tonight's video is how to get off the healing carousel and truly level up. This is the second video in our three-part series that we created for the courageous woman living in changing times, where we offer you tools to rekindle your sacred knowing and activate who you truly came here to be.
So in the last video, we kind of left off with that journal prompt of like sitting in the fork in the road and trying to decide like, which way do I go? Do I follow this like kind of intimidating, maybe a little like uncertain path that, it's just because we can't see everything that is ready unfolding in front of us? Or, am I just going to stick with what I know and what has always been working, but but I'm not exactly, feeling fulfilled, or there's something missing, or I'm not quite happy in this, like the same old. And, realizing like all the different, like what keeps me kind of stuck in that indecision space is feeling like maybe I don't know enough, or I need to, maybe there's another book that I need to read, or, if only I just healed that childhood wound, or, like maybe I need a different crystal to get myself like into this other ascended path. And, all these different ways that we just keep ourselves going round and around and around. We never fully break out of that bubble of actually being that we say leveled up version, but it's like, you're more like aligned, more yourself version of you, and a version of you that's taking up a little bit more space, and doesn't apologize for it.
Yes, I do think that like leveled up is, a term that we use. Like I'm sure a lot of like we used it because it like resonates, right? A lot of people identify with it. But truly it's just becoming who we were always meant to be, who we are. And a lot of times it's just our fear of what? Like maybe people judging us, a fear of failure. Who knows exactly what the exact fear is, but a lot of times that's what keeps us from following that path. And then we have the predictable path, the safe path, the one that we've maybe been on, the one that we kind of know what it will look like in a month, a year, down the road. And the one that excites us, we might not know exactly what that looks like. And a lot of times that path calls us, asks us to be a leveled up version of ourselves. And maybe that's why the whole thing seems like, maybe seems a little scary, but it's like, really, we have to maybe become that version of ourselves to go down that path. So it's like, what happens first? We go down the path and then we level up, or we level up and go down the path, right? Um,
Yeah,
so
it's kind of like reminds me of, we were talking before of um feeling like you're not in a space to actually become the leader, healer, entrepreneur that you really are desiring to be, because you feel like you're not ready, or there's some that you're just not enough, that there's always some reason that you're not enough, that you need to have completed some level of healing in order to actually step into that role. And I feel like so much of this is actually kind of, in a way, playing a game with the universe where, we kind of a little bit fake it to make it, and I use that in the most like honorable, like integrity kind of way, where it's like you're not actually faking being something you're not. You're actually being you. You're being
you're trying
more
on a
of
new version.
you. Yeah, you're allowing that little piece of yourself to actually take a bit more of the center stage, and start filling yourself in with your own heart, with your
Yeah.
own essence. So in a sense, it's like maybe that seems like you're trying on something new or doing something that you haven't ever done before, that feels foreign and a little uncertain. But at the same time, these are all things that if they are like really aligned and if they're like calling to you and making you feel excited to wake up in the next day, like then that's your soul's calling. Like that's something you know is for you. It's you just like dying to come out. So
Yeah. Well, one of the things, that I think can help with this too, is that whole concept of be, do, have, right? And so what you're saying, like fake it till you make it, like it's trying on a version of ourselves that we're not fully maybe comfortable in. It's like a new, it's new territory. So it's like once we're there a while, it's going to feel really comfortable. And so a lot of times how we operate is we do the things first, right? So we're like, oh, if I do this class, if I do this healing, if I, do these actions, then I'll have this level of success. I'll have this proof that this is worth it or it's going to work. And then I'll be the version of myself that I want to be. But that just leads to perpetual action and perpetual healing, perpetual classes, perpetual doing. And I think what we need to realize is we need to be that version of ourselves, and then from that version of ourselves of who we are being, the actions will make sense. We will naturally know what we need to do, and then we will have the results that we want. But the being comes first, and
right.
and then the proof will, the world, like, yeah, the our world will fill in to match that being.
Yeah, it's like the universe totally just shows up for you
Yeah.
when you start to do that thing where you just start to like walk forward even if you don't know where the steps are going. And um I
Yeah, the path
just
will get laid out ahead of you as you take
exactly.
the next natural step will become illuminated.
Yeah. And I feel like that happens time and time again, even just as I'm like exploring my path, my like, what is my heart like pulling me towards? And it feels like each day, it's like it is pushing me to do something a little bit extra, a little bit more. And and then it's up to me to actually do it, and meet the universe halfway. So yeah.
Yeah, so tonight is really about, you know, we gave you a journal prompt in the last video. Tonight is about being courageous in your journal. Be courageous there first, then you can take it outside of your journal. But what does that look like for you? What is your leveled up version? Who do you want to be? um and then you'll like the steps will present themselves, and it'll become clear what that path is. But for tonight, really get clear on what does that look like for you. What is that leveled up version of you? Who are you? Like in the sense of what have you shed, how do you show up, any detail that helps you visualize and articulate it even more.
And then maybe like take a little peek at what you've already written in the journal, like that daydream, that audacious, bold, daring dream of yours. And actually go through and take a look and see, are there any pieces of that that are already true, that you're already doing? Or maybe there's something that you could try on, this week or next week, and just kind of like push yourself a little bit. Like um a little bit of a challenge of like how big of a shoe do you want to fill? And have you already, like, you can even look back 5 years ago at who you were then, and if your old self could look at you right now, how proud they would be already. And just imagine that happening again, and but being intentional about it.
So intentional. This
Yeah, it's
is
like such
really
power in intention.
This is exactly, and that's exactly where you were talking about the universe coming to our aid. These forces, these laws are present, and when we combine how we are showing up with intention, right? It's just these universal forces show up to like boost us along. It's like having like the wind behind your back, right? Like
Right, it's the
you move faster.
sails. It's so
Yeah.
true. Yeah, when you've got, your heart's true knowing, you pair that with intention, and then, take it further, pair that with like different things going on,
Yeah, you're inspired,
grounding,
and that's where
you know,
you get
all of
inspired
that.
action, right? Like
Right.
and so it's like so you have your dream path, and then what version of you walks that path? And then once you have that, then from there, from that version of you, what are those actions? What are those steps? Because when you're sitting in your seat now and you're like, that's too scary. But then when you think of that version of you that's living that path, that's not scary. That's just natural everyday stuff.
Yeah,
So making decisions and actions from that place is going to feel different than how it feels right now.
that's so true. And I feel like that really creates like radical change. And
Radical.
it's so exciting too when
It
you turn
is.
around and you're just like, oh my gosh,
Yes, this whole
so much of
thing.
my dream is happening.
Yes, and it's all because we are doing this with intention, right?
Right.
We are, when it really comes down to it, we are manifesting whether we try to or not. But the thing is, we might be manifesting things we don't want, or, like just, it's creating, like we could be creating intentionally or not intentionally, but either way, we are creating. So this is about being super intentional and claiming your path and then letting reality fill in around it to make it so.
Right. Yes.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us again tonight. Stay tuned for video 3.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.